Tell you hi, V3. Glad you're here. Josh and I, we have got here early this morning, setting everything up. Been working at it a couple hours, and we have come to the conclusion that at 10 o'clock, there's a lot of bandwidth that people are eating up out there because we just lost Facebook, but he got it back up and going. But I want to tell you, we're going to be committed to this job. We have made 1.5 gallons of Vineyard coffee, and I'm committed that we're going to drink all that coffee before we leave this place. So thanks so much for staying at home. We do want to appreciate and we want to celebrate that people are choosing to be socially distant from each other as in physical locale, but we're thankful that in the digital world we can connect. So for those of you that have been recently invited here by a friend, a relative, someone said, hey, you can't get out, check my church out. We realize that during these weeks, maybe months, we may be doing this a lot. So we're just going to make it work. Welcome to our new normal for a little while, so we're going to do our best to make it happen. But we are time conscious and want to let you know at the end of the message, we have some worship that is taken care of. The team practiced Thursday, and we got it compiled and presented something, and I think it's going to be good. So you guys hang with us, will you? And we just believe it's going to have some good things. Listen, I want to let you know, until further notice, we are planning April the 10th to have a nailing service here. That's a Good Friday. And so keep your nails with you. Let it remind you that Jesus is committed to you, so you need to commit to him, all right? And just in case you're bored at home, go to V3 Club Aloha and type in Lent, and you will get the reading for this Lenten season. So I want to encourage you to be a part of that, all right? Okay, we're going to go ahead and jump into the message because realize in the digital realm, you're going to be distracted by a lot of different things. So we're just going to cut to the chase. So if you will, I want you to focus and remember that we here at the Vineyard, we spell faith R-I-S-K. It's not that we're illiterate. We just believe that faith is such an ambiguous term sometimes. But we all know what we mean by risk. And who knew at the beginning of this year, we are committed to the Vineyard National send out that they had a year plan, not so much for individual sermons, but they had a year topic of risk, how to take risk for Jesus. Who knew that we would be in a situation that we would have a global pandemic and states would be shutting down and churches would be isolating from each other? So we believe that this is a message and a message series that is appropriate in time and place. And so we want to encourage you to continue to take risk for Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not speaking of being foolish about your health, feeling as if I'm spiritual enough that somehow God is going to do something incredible for me. How about this? How about if you use the good common sense God gave you and trust that he's going to accomplish his will through you when you employ that common sense and trust in him, okay? So the message series that for this season was Engaging Risk. Now we want you to engage in risk. We want you to push into it. Now as we look at that, that's a broad sweep of a term. But what we realize is this, is that when we obey, obedience changes us. It changes you. When you're obedient, you realize that many times we stay locked into fear and we're afraid of things. Often, when we face our fears and go through them, we realize that David was right when he said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, or in this case, the shadow of my fear. You realize that it wasn't even there. It was, if you would, a figment of your imagination, your fear. So we want to continue to kind of press into this thought. And so today's message we want to look at is risk of change. Risk of change. Now, realize that last week we spoke about that there's no wine. So in there being no wine, we realize this, guys, that things change. You went to a wedding party and wine was there and all of a sudden you have no wine. Now, some of you probably feel that way. You're used to some social interaction. You're used to kind of being out and going and doing your own thing, and the wine of your celebrative life has been turned into water. You got to stay home. stay away from people. The party's off. Well, I would want to encourage you that this did not surprise God. We live in a fallen world, but He is in charge. And we serve Him. We don't serve our circumstances. So I want to encourage you that when we look at this thing and how things have changed, it seems like if you've listened to the news lately, they are interested in one thing, and that is, who's to blame? Well, it doesn't change your circumstances. So the question that follows that is, who's to blame? If you knew, would it change your circumstances? No, it wouldn't. So how about if we lay aside that thing of blame, and let's focus on something positive, something that would build us up. And I'd like to look at a story about taking a risk and changing. And the guy that I want to talk about this morning is blind Bartimaeus. Now, I want to remind you, for those of you who are being distracted, kids are running around, you're thinking of what's for breakfast, you're running around in your slippers and your pajamas, all except Jim Bryant, and he knows what I'm talking about. From that point, we want to let you know that we're not talking about this guy. This guy is one-eyed Bart. He is not blind Bartimaeus. Blind Bartimaeus, we see a story that is Jesus. He's walking out of Jericho, and there he has this incredible interaction with this guy called Bartimaeus. So, if you will, I'm going to read the story to you. For those of you that are familiar with it, you'll find it in Mark chapter 10. But if you would just sit back in the lazy boy recliner, cross your legs, drink your coffee, and just listen to me. Here's the story. They spent some time in Jericho, and as Jesus was leaving town, trailed by his disciples and a parade of people, a blind beggar by the name Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, was sitting alongside the road. When he heard that Jesus the Nazarene was passing by, he began to cry out, "Son of David, Jesus, mercy, have mercy on me." Many tried to hush him, but he yelled all the louder, "Son of David, mercy, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped in his tracks. I love that phrasing. "Call him over." They called him. "It's a lucky day. Get up. He's calling you to come." Throwing off his coat, he was on his feet at once and came to Jesus. Jesus said, "What can I do for you?" The blind man said, "Rabbi, I want to see." "On your way," said Jesus. "Your faith has saved and healed you." In that very instant, he recovered his sight and followed Jesus down the road. That's by Eugene Peterson. It's a translation. It's a paraphrase, not a translation. It's a paraphrase by Eugene Peterson. He takes thoughts and the phrasing and he puts it in the vernacular. If you don't have a Message Bible, pick one up. Keep a potpourri of Bibles. Read it from different translations and different paraphrases, give you different perspectives. But I love the realness of Jesus, how relevant he is. Hey, what can I do for you? I mean, that's how I see Jesus. He's relevant and he's in tune with the present. And so it's just a great paraphrase here. But as you read the story, just kind of pressing on, I want to point out one thing, and that is this. These are scary words. As Jesus was leaving town. That's scary, man. That's like take the last bus to Clarksville, or train, whichever applies. It's like, you know what? This is your last chance. Jesus is leaving town, and I tell you, it was an epiphany to me. It was an eye-opening moment when I realized that there were times that Jesus left towns where there were still sick people. I wrestled with that for months until I realized it isn't my job to heal people. It's not my job to make everyone's world right. It's my job to see what the Father is doing and partner with them and walk with them. So I want to encourage you. It's not your job to make everyone's world right. It is your job to watch what the Father is doing and respond. And at this moment in this story, it's time that the Father says, "Jesus, we need to roll on." So Jesus is scooting out of town. And so let's just look at the dichotomy of this event. We have the disciples. These are people that have committed to Jesus. They're following Jesus. They've left their jobs. They've left their vocation. They left their family. and they are connected to Jesus, and they're progressive, and they're moving forward, and they're excited about the day. And then you got the parade of people. We're talking, let's look at the people. These are people who have been healed, they've been delivered, they've been restored. So we're talking party central, okay? So you look at this event, and there's the disciples. They're committed, their heads held high, their chests are poked out, they're following the master. You got all these people having a party, and then there's you. You're sitting on the side of the road watching everyone else have a party. Have you been there? I think we have. We've been involved with our lives so much, and we've looked around and we think everyone else's life is so much better than ours. In this situation, in this story, we kind of look at old Bart and we think, you know what? It kind of sucks to be him. There's a lot of festivity, a lot of happiness going on, and it seems as if he is somehow left out. You know, that dichotomy happens today. You know, difficult times often polarize people. It's the have and the have-nots. We need to have phrasing to emulate or to communicate that. Here, this is something relevant for us today. See, what we have this. We have those with TP and those without TP. You know, it polarizes people. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I can't believe this. You know how much stuff we've done to help people and to alleviate some stress and strain in people's lives. I've seen more posting on Facebook about people stopping and giving people rolls of toilet paper. Okay? You know, I bet you we gave away thousands of bottles of water, and there ain't one person that posted anything like that. But hey, roll of toilet paper, there is power in TP. Yes, there is. All right. So, it's interesting as we read this. Now, for us today, we have looked at this story, and we simply call this guy, his name's Bartimaeus. But guys, the writer of the story doesn't even give this guy a name. You say, well, it does. Yeah, it's Bartimaeus. No, if you understand correctly in reading it and understand the translation, it's speaking this, that it is actually Bar. Remember Jesus, when he comes to Peter and John and all them, he says, you're Simon, son of John, and Bar-Jonah. That's the idea. So Jesus is actually, or I should say the writer here is actually calling him Bar-Timaeus, is the son of Timaeus. And check this out. Timaeus means to honor. This man is a son of honor, and he finds himself sitting on the side of the road as everyone else is partying, having a great time. And the son of honor is blind. He has his coat. You see, that coat is something significant. Because in the story it says when Jesus calls him, he throws his coat off to the side. You realize Bartimaeus, the reason this coat was so important, why it's thrown away, that doesn't make sense to us. I want to let you know that historically, that how was a person a beggar? How was a person authorized to be a beggar? It wasn't they just went out and panhandled. There were certain things they had, and one was this. If a priest definitely saw this person was had leprosy, or if he was blind, or if he was halt, the priest would sanction that this person is a divine recipient of your good acts and good deeds. So you see that Timaeus, the son of Timaeus, he wore that coat because it communicated to everyone that I am a person in need. So see, he's blind. He's an authorized beggar. This is who this son of honor was. So he's there, and as this party is happening, all of a sudden he starts screaming out, and he screams out something I want to point out is this. He says, Jesus, son of David. But in the description, it says that when he knew Jesus of Nazareth was coming. You see, the time we read about Nazareth is this, is when Philip is having a dialogue, and he in this dialogue with Bartholomew, he says this, he says, can anything good come from Nazareth? come out of this loss. You see, that's what he's saying. You see, it's interesting. When you read history and you understand of Nazareth, you understand that Jesus of Nazareth simply was saying Jesus came from the other side of the tracks. The elitists of Judea would look down their nose at Nazareth. That's why Jesus' response is, you truly are a Jew without fault. His elitism. There's a place in John that talks about this Nazareth. I think it's pretty cool here. It's when Jesus is having this dialogue, and Jesus' words are this. Nathanael, thank you. Jesus said, you've become a believer simply because I say I saw you one day sitting under the fig tree. You haven't seen anything yet. This is Eugene Peterson's translation of the Message. Before this is over, you're going to see heaven open and God's angels descending to the Son of Man and ascending again. What he's saying is this, that Jesus bridges the gap from heaven to the lowest of humanity. Born in a stable? Yes, not a palace. Born in Jerusalem? No, Bethlehem. You see, Jesus can relate. It's interesting that it says he's son of Timaeus, but Jesus understands because Timaeus calls out to him, I'm son of Timaeus, son of David. You're one like me. You understand. You see, Jesus does understand, guys. What I love this is when you read the whole story, we realize how desperate Timaeus is, or the son of Timaeus. Desperate people won't be controlled. How desperate are you to know God in a deeper and more transforming way? Nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you. You see, he calls out. It's interesting, and I think we find ourselves all sometimes in this situation. He calls out for mercy. Mercy, mercy on me. Can I point out something? When we deal with this, we realize this, that when we look at other people, we don't call out, God, give them mercy. What we usually say is this. Is there justice? God, bring justice. Bring justice. Why don't we quit wagging our finger and start asking for mercy, even in situations that we feel it's rightfully so, to call out justice? The Bible says very clearly, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. There's a time and a place for judgment, but it's rarely under personal preference. It's usually under biblical principle that we stand and say judgment has to be made to maintain the integrity of our testimony, our calling, our faith. So, this justice, I love it when everyone is telling him, shut up, shut up, shut up, and he refuses to shut up and even gets louder. We see this, and I love Eugene Peterson. He says, in his tracks, Jesus stopped. Immediately. I love that. I love it. Jesus stops, and he calls out to him, and everyone turns and says, today's your lucky day. Jesus is calling. And immediately it says this, that he throws his coat off. Sometimes for us to see the change that God is doing in our life, we've got to let go of the stability of what we're holding on to. As long as Timaeus carried that coat, he was authorized beggar. Matter of fact, the law even said that they were to help beggars. So it's a done deal, man. He's entitled. You hear the term? He's entitled. Hey, give it, give it, give it. But when God is calling him, if you want to leave this, come on. He throws his coat off. Sometimes before we can receive what God is doing for us, we've got to let go of what has got us to that point. Sometimes we've got to let go. And I love it. He throws off his coat, And it says immediately he came to Jesus. Got on his feet, came to Jesus. You know, as I read this, I realized this, that he may not be able to see, but he used what he had to get to Jesus. Now, there are times that people they're paralyzed, they can't move, and it says Jesus came to them, or friends would bring them to Jesus. But in this case, though he is blind, though he is a beggar, we don't even know the dude's name. It says when Jesus says, "Bring him to me," and people responded, the man threw off his coat, got to his feet, and immediately came to Jesus. He was ready for a change. Jesus says, "Hey, what do you want me to do for you?" I guess that's the question today. Your life, for weeks, months, hopefully for the rest of your life is changing. Timaeus was blind. I don't believe he knew what Jesus looked like. He knew of him. It's my prayer that you know of ways to be loving. You know of ways to be kind. You know of ways to help people. It's my prayer that in the difficulty that we're facing right now, that we hear Jesus' words, "What do you want me to do for you?" How about this, guys? How about if we ask God, "Lord, give us sight, give us eyes to see the opportunities you have for us." The blind man, "I want to see." You got to ask. And Jesus wants to say, this isn't the end of it. Continue your way, on your way. Keep going. You're healed. You see, I have a question for you. Isn't it time to get on your way to being changed? Here at the church, we call it being transformed. There's a change that happens. Something happens inside us. And you know what? If something changes inside us, I will tell you what will happen next is that isn't it time to see the opportunities that you have been blinded to? You have opportunities to be kind, polite, nice, godly, encouraging to those around you that maybe up to this point you have been blinded to them. You see, the thought that we're staying with this whole series is this: Jesus is the provision that you're looking for. The transformation will come as Jesus continues to be developed in your life, as you press into him, as your character, as your response to him. Listen, there's a few words we'd like to share. This morning we called and texted, and we got a bunch of these words. And ingrown toenail, fluid misplaced, sour stomach, spiritually and emotionally calm, irrelevant, lion-hearted, outside your skin, becoming, haunting, victory over darkness, needed peace in homes and together in spirit. So listen, these are the words that we share. In just a moment, we're going to take about a 5-minute break and we're going to roll into worship. But let me just close in prayer and let you know that we love you guys. And connect to each other. Appreciate Josh being here, kind of surfing with you guys in the comment area. Lift each other up in prayer. And if there's a need, don't hesitate to call the church office. We'll connect to you as quickly as we can. We have people manning the phones, and they're there ready to receive your calls, okay? We love you guys. Let me pray for you. Father, we thank you for this time. I ask that you'd bless us. Father, we are distant geographically from each other, but spiritually, we're standing with each other right now. Thank you that the Bible even says that we're surrounded by so great a cloud of witness. So, Father, we would ask that you would bless us with strength, provision, guidance. Be with the lonely. May they feel your presence. Be with the one that is scared. May they see that you are still Jehovah Jireh. You shall provide. Father, I pray that you give us wisdom and insight as you face these days. In your name, amen.
No longer a slave to fear. voice to many thousands, hundreds of people who are trying to encourage one another in a time that we find ourselves. None of us saw this coming. Nobody really predicted it, but here we are. And I just got a couple of words of encouragement for today, and that is to my friends, to churches, pastors, and family, and everything is, remember that none of us have gone through this before. So I think we're going to have to be a little gentle with each other. We're going to have to remember that if you're a church member, your pastor has never pastored a church through a pandemic before. Your city leaders, your town leaders, your school teachers have never done what they've done. They've never done this before. So I just, we've been on a lot of Zooms, and Jan and I are right now in the state of Maine. We're gonna stay here and ride this thing out, see where this goes. But this I know, that Jesus said very clearly once, he said, I've told you these things so that in me you could have peace. There will be trouble in the world, but I've overcome the world. So there's a lot, there's so many verses, and so helpful. The other thing I want to say is, I'm going to be really, putting out 2 or 3 of these, maybe daily, I don't know. I'm technologically challenged, so we get this one out, we'll be doing good, and then we'll see what happens after that.
All right, guys. Hey, we're gonna call it a wrap today. We're glad you're here. We're gonna upload this to Facebook. It'll be on YouTube. We just want you to stay connected with us, okay? We've got a lot of challenges ahead of us. We're gonna continue to retool the Sunday morning and make it a success. So we just want to say, hang with us. If you need something, call the church office and we'll get to you as soon as we can, okay? God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.